This is for Year 12 Specialists. It comes out in NEAP 2018 Exam 1, question number 10. Solve the equation, so find x, where x is positive or equal to 0. Okay, so I've got the inverse cosine of x plus the inverse cosine of 2x equals pi on 2. I need to take the cos of both sides. When I take the cos of both sides, this here will then turn to 0 because the cos of pi on 2 equals 0. And this is going to turn to x. Because I've got three terms, I'm going to be using either this or this. Because I've got a 2x, I'd actually like to move this to the right hand side and have the inverse cosine of 2x equals pi on 2 minus the inverse cosine of x. Which means when I take the cos of both sides, the cos of the inverse cosine of 2x is 2x, and that's going to equal the cosine of pi on 2 minus the inverse cos of x. I'm now going to use this rule here. So x is going to be pi on 2 and y is going to be the inverse cos of x. So I'm going to have the cosine of x, so the cos of pi on 2 times the cos of the inverse cos of x, and then plus the sine of pi on 2 times the sine of the inverse cos of x. It's going to equal 0 times x plus 1 times the sine of the inverse cosine of x. Now I need to think about that a little bit. If I have a right angle triangle and if I have the inverse cosine of x is going to be my angle, which means that x is going to equal the cos of theta. So if this is theta, then this can be x and this can be 1. So the cos of theta is x, which means that theta, the angle, is the inverse cosine of x. So using Pythagoras' theorem, this is 1 minus x squared. So therefore the sine of theta will equal the square root of 1 minus x squared, which means that the sine of the inverse cosine of x is equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared. So all of this equals 0 plus 1 times the square root of 1 minus x squared. So I've got 2x equals the square root of 1 minus x squared. Squaring both sides, 4x equals 1 minus x squared. 4x squared, 5x squared equals 1. X will equal plus or minus 1 on root 5, which means x equals plus or minus root 5 on 5. And since x is positive, because up in the start it said that x is bigger than 0, therefore x equals root 5 on 5. I could have made a decision to leave it like this and take the cosine of both sides, and I would have had this rule to use and I still get the same answer.